Hello again, this is Peter Phelps of Phelps 3D, and this is another build video for the Cobblebot little monster. This time I'm going to deal with the electronics. Now, this is their knockoff Arduino Mega board. This is what is actually the computer part of the 3D printer. It provides the computing power. This is a standard ramps 1.4 board. This is what connects to the Mega and actually provides a couple of pins a minute. Sorry. It tells the motors what to do and stuff. This is where you'll plug in all your motors, all your steppers, the heating element and the thermistor, etc. We have the Allegro knockoff Allegro. I think it's 4888 or something like that. I'm going to only use 3 of those. One of them is sort of extra. You only need they sent you 4 of these, but I bought separately some 8825 drivers, and these are better drivers. I'm going to put these 2 on for the Y and the Z axis. Give them a little more oomph. And what's funny is that when you install these, see the little potometer screw? Well, the screws for the 8825s, they go away from the power block here. So when you install them, they will face this way. So this is basically X, Y, Z, and the 2 extruders, if you have 2 extruders. So you would install those facing so that and then I'm going to go X, this one, and then the 2 Y and Z, and I'm going to put these. Now, actually this is 4 of them, so maybe I'll go ahead. I thought this was only 2 in the packet, I forgot. So what I'm going to do, these extruders. The extruders don't need that much juice in them, but I'm going to put these into the other 3. Now, for them, the potometer on it goes the opposite direction. So look at that one. It's got an extra piece. I'll have to change that. Cut that. Oh. That was bad quality control. And I may end up buying some heat sinks to put on these too. So basically, the Legos go the one direction where the hot is away from it, and then the 8825s go the opposite. This is called the RepRap Discount Full Graphics Controller. The nice thing about this versus the other RepRap Discount controller is it will display up to 3 extruder head information and fan information, fan speeds, etc. But you have to, when you do this, you have to install the G8lib. There's another set of things you have to install in the Arduino IDE to get this to work. It has its own graphical library. You can always go to reprap.org and check that out for the library for the full graphics LCD. One thing I'm going to try to do is, instead of using Marlin, I'm going to try to use Repeater software. Repeater, I've used both. Repeater, the nice thing about it is that you can change the settings for the firmware in the Repeater host software. You don't have to constantly be going back and forth and reflashing your Arduino Mega, but I'm not sure if all the settings will be compatible. Like, I'm not sure if there's a difference for when you install the full graphics or not. I've only messed around with it a little bit for a Hadron 3D printer that a client of mine had. So this basically, though, EXP1, EXP1, EXP2, and it plugs into the pins here and there. That's what I was trying to, why I was trying to bend. One of these were bent, and I was trying to get them lined back up so that I could plug this in. So, wherever you want to install this, you're going to have to make sure you are within the reach for things. In fact, I may end up putting it like that or something. Then the end stop switches. There was a post on the Cobblebot Kickstarter that something was wrong with the end stop switch, and that if you put it on the way they were, you would most likely fry your ramps board because they were wired right. Now, I took and went and did a lot of research, made sure that I was looking at it right, and then I took and pulled the green wire used to be up here, and then the black wire was here, and then the red. Well, even on the trace, you can see that this top one is supposed to go to the COM on the switch itself. COM is negative, and the green wire is supposed to be your signal, and then there's a positive wire. So what I did is I redid the wiring on this jack on all 3 of them so that they fit the way that they're supposed to plug in. Now, Now, one of the ways they said to test to make sure if yours are wired right or not is if you're touching the negative and positive, and you push the button and you have conductivity, that's wrong. It will burn up the ramp support. If you're touching these two, and you have power going through it when it's not clicked, then that's the way it's supposed to be. It's called a normally closed, so that if something happened to one of these wires or something else, the machine will stop. I mean, if something chews through a wire, or it gets pinched and cut somehow, or grounds out, that the machine will stop rather than continue on and crash into things. So that's really important that the end stops work correctly. I'm not going to follow the instructions in just putting some tape and sticking it on this thing. There's a couple of end stop holders on Thingiverse that I'm going to try to use that's said there for Cobblebot. So I'll have to print those out so I can put them together. But basically, the signal wire, green wire, should go on the top, and these are set up so there's two for each. There's a minimum and maximum, minimum, maximum, minimum, maximum. Since we're only using 3, we're going to just do the mins. And so you skip. The nice thing is this company gave nice long wires. So it should be, yeah. Okay, I'm looking at another ramp support that I have already done on a Prusa, but it's basically plug, plug, plug. You skip one between them, and there should be 3 more open. That's your 3 end stops wired in. They'll be installed in different places. Now the wires here, the 4 here, 4 here, that's your extruder 1, extruder 2. Then the 4 wires there, and then there's a 2 set here. This is your X, your Y, your Z wires for the motors. And the reason there's 2 rows for the Z is for like the Prusas or other Mendels. Both they have 2 motors for the Z axis. Well, this one's only got 1, so you don't have to worry about it. Just plug them in there. You don't have to worry too much about which direction. If you have it the wrong direction, it's just going to go backwards rather than the way you want it to. So you can just pull it off, reverse it, and put it back in. It won't hurt the motors. Then you have the row up in here. This will be for your thermistors, and then here, this is your heaters. So one of these is your extruder, second extruder, and if you have a heated bed. This is your positive and negatives for your power supply, and whether or not you add power for this too. Sometimes the power is necessary for both parts. Sometimes it doesn't get fed through from this board. Depends on how well this was made. I've been able to power them directly off with just this, but I've also had situations where I had to power both of them separately. The little 2-pin in here, that's for your fan, but because this is a all metal hot end, you're going to most likely just put a fan on there. That is something I'm going to planning on doing. I have to print the part out for that too, but I have a 40mm fan here that I'll be connecting and printing out a little piece to keep it on there. But instead of that going to this fan, you want to make it go directly to the 12-volt power supply, because you'll want it to be on all the time. Anything else before I shut this one down? You might have to tweak the firmware depending on how it's set up, whether these are inverted or not. But yeah, I'll definitely work through that. That will be a whole nother video of me playing around with everything and trying to figure out what settings I should use. I mean, I'll use these settings as a basis, but I also went on to the reprap.org site and looked up the settings for the hexagon hot end, because there seemed to be some confusion about the settings for the thermistor on that, and so I looked that up. It said the type is number 5 for Marlin, so I'll have to hope that repeater has a similar setting. And so I got to figure out how to mount this, where I'm going to mount it to the LCD screen. There was a Cobblebot LCD case on Thingiverse too, but it's probably for the bigger Cobblebots. I'll take a look at it and see whether or not it's viable for attaching it to this. Alright, thank you. Goodbye.